There's nothing quite like a warm bowl of soup on a chilly evening, is there? It's pure comfort food. A simple bowl of soup can be so much more than just a meal. And you know what? It's even better when it's packed with goodness and flavor. That's where this lentil soup recipe comes in. It's a recipe that's close to my heart, easy to make, budget-friendly, and bursting with flavor. We're talking about a rich, hearty broth simmered with earthy lentils, aromatic vegetables, and a touch of spice. So grab your apron and let's get cooking. Trust me, once you try this recipe, it's going to become a firm favorite in your kitchen. Now let's talk lentils. These little legumes don't always get the love they deserve, but they're nutritional powerhouses. Packed with protein, fiber, and essential minerals, lentils are a great way to add a healthy boost to your diet. No need for soaking, like some other beans. They soften up beautifully in the soup, creating a creamy, satisfying texture. Ready to get started? Let's gather our ingredients and create something delicious. Before we get our hands dirty, let's lay out our ingredients like a culinary masterpiece in the making. First up, our star ingredient, lentils. Grab yourself a cup of green, brown, or red lentils, whichever tickles your fancy. Next, gather your aromatics, a small onion, finely chopped, 2 cloves of garlic, minced, 1 diced carrot, and a stalk of celery, also diced. These veggies are going to add a depth of flavor that'll make your taste buds sing. And of course, no soup is complete without liquid gold vegetable broth. 5 cups of this flavorful elixir will form the base of our soup. Now, let's talk about that trio of flavor onions, carrots, and celery. Onions, with their sharp, pungent bite, mellow out beautifully when sautéed, adding a touch of sweetness to the mix. Carrots bring a hint of earthy sweetness and a vibrant orange hue to the party. Together, these 3 amigos create a symphony of flavors that form the backbone of our soup. All right, let's get those taste buds tingling. Place your pot on the stovetop and drizzle in a tablespoon of good quality olive oil. Crank up the heat to medium and let that olive oil shimmer and dance a little. That's your cue that it's ready for action. Now in go our chopped onions, those little flavor bombs just waiting to explode. Give them a good stir, making sure they're coated in the warm embrace of the olive oil. The kitchen will fill with the intoxicating aroma of onions gently cooking, a scent that's both comforting and tantalizing. Keep those onions moving every now and then, giving them a stir to ensure they cook evenly. We're aiming for that beautiful translucent stage where they've softened and taken on a slight golden hue. As the onions cook, they'll release their natural sugars, which will caramelize slightly and add a touch of sweetness to the soup. While those onions are working their wonder, let's turn our attention to the rest of our aromatic team: garlic, carrot, and celery. Once your onions have reached that perfect soft and translucent stage, it's time to introduce the rest of the gang. First up, our pungent friend garlic. Add those 2 minced cloves to the pot and give everything a good stir. Just a minute or so of cooking is all it needs to release its intoxicating aroma and mellow out its sharp bite. Next, toss in your diced carrots and celery. These vibrant veggies will add a pop of color and a delightful earthy sweetness to the mix. Now, let this aromatic symphony cook for another 2 to 3 minutes, stirring occasionally until the vegetables have softened slightly and the aromas have mingled and intensified. Now for the moment you've all been waiting for, the spices. This is where we get to infuse our soup with a symphony of warmth and depth. We're talking about a simple yet powerful trio: cumin, turmeric optional, but highly recommended, and smoked paprika. Sprinkle in half a teaspoon each of ground cumin and smoked paprika, and if you're feeling adventurous, a half teaspoon of turmeric too. Each spice brings its own unique personality to the party. Cumin, with its earthy, slightly nutty flavor, adds a warm complexity. Smoked paprika brings a hint of smokiness and a touch of sweetness, adding another layer of depth. With the spices now mingling beautifully with our aromatic vegetables, it's time to introduce another flavor hero: tomatoes. You can use either one medium tomato, chopped, or half a cup of canned diced tomatoes, whichever you have on hand. Both work equally well in this recipe, so no need to stress about it. Stir those tomatoes into the mix, making sure they're well coated in the spices and oils. We want them to soften up and release their juices, creating a rich and flavorful base for our lentil soup. Now, this is a crucial step that often gets overlooked: the power of a good stir. Take a moment to appreciate the beautiful medley of colors and aromas in your pot. Then give everything a thorough stir. We want to make sure those spices are evenly distributed and don't stick to the bottom of the pot. As you stir, take a deep breath and inhale those intoxicating aromas. Now, let this flavorful mixture cook for another couple of minutes, stirring occasionally. All right, folks, it's time to introduce the stars of the show, our lentils. Remember that cup of green, brown, or red lentils we set aside earlier? Well, they're about to take a dive into a pool of flavor. Pour those lentils into the pot, giving everything a good stir to make sure they're well acquainted with the aromatic base we've created. Those little legumes are going to soak up all those wonderful flavors as they cook, transforming into tender, flavorful morsels of goodness. Now, let's give those lentils a good stir, making sure they're well coated in the flavorful mixture of vegetables, spices, and tomatoes. We want every single lentil to be enveloped in that flavor, ensuring a consistent and delicious experience in every bite. With our lentils happily mingling with the other ingredients, it's time to add the liquid gold that will bring everything together: our vegetable broth. Pour in 5 cups of that flavorful elixir, making sure to cover the lentils and vegetables generously. This broth is going to work its wonder as it simmers, infusing even more flavor into our soup and transforming those lentils into tender, melt-in-your-mouth delights. Now give everything a gentle stir to ensure the broth is evenly distributed and the lentils aren't sticking together. We want them to cook evenly and absorb all that flavorful liquid, creating a creamy, satisfying texture. All right, folks. It's time to exercise a little patience. The key to a good lentil soup is a slow and gentle simmer. Crank up the heat and bring the soup to a boil, watching as those bubbles start to rise and break the surface. Once the soup reaches a rolling boil, turn down the heat to low, partially cover the pot, and let it simmer gently for about 25 to 30 minutes. Keep an eye on the pot, giving it a stir every now and then to prevent anything from sticking to the bottom. The aroma in your kitchen will be absolutely divine, a tantalizing blend of earthy lentils, savory vegetables, and warm spices. The texture tango: to blend or not to blend. Right then, our lentil soup's been simmering away, filling the kitchen with the most amazing aroma. Those lentils should be nice and tender now, ready for the next step. Some folks like me love a good chunky soup where you get a bit of everything in each spoonful. But if you're after a smoother, more velvety experience, then grab yourself an immersion blender and let's get blitzing. You can blend the entire pot for a completely smooth soup, or just blitz about half of it for a texture that's both creamy and chunky. I like to leave some texture just to keep things interesting. Remember, if you don't have an immersion blender, no worries. You can carefully transfer the soup in batches to a regular blender. Seasoning symphony, finding your flavor harmony. Okay, we're getting close now. Our soup's practically singing, but every good chef knows that seasoning is the key to unlocking those final notes of flavor. Time to taste and adjust. Grab a spoon and have a taste. How's the salt level? Add a pinch or two of salt at a time, tasting as you go until you're happy with the seasoning. Next, let's add some freshly ground black pepper. A good grind of pepper adds a bit of a kick and really brings out the other flavors in the soup. Zest for life. The lemon lift. Here's a little trick that'll brighten up the whole soup. A squeeze of lemon juice. Trust me on this one. It adds a wonderful freshness that cuts through the richness of the lentils and spices. Roll a lemon on the counter to get the juices flowing, then slice it in half. Squeeze in the juice of half a lemon, or a bit more if you like a bit of a tang. Give it a good stir to distribute that citrusy goodness throughout the soup. And there you have it, a pot of delicious, nourishing lentil soup ready to warm your heart and your belly. A feast for the eyes, garnishing with flair. We eat with our eyes first, right? Garnishing isn't just about looks. It adds flavor and texture too. A sprinkle of fresh herbs does wonders. Think parsley for a classic touch or cilantro for vibrancy. Just before serving, sprinkle your chosen herb. It adds color and freshness. Add a swirl of cream or Greek yogurt for richness. And for heat, sprinkle chili flakes. Garnishing is about creativity, so have fun. Let's talk about the perfect accompaniment to our lentil soup crusty bread. Is there anything better than dipping a hunk of crusty bread into a bowl of steaming soup? I think not. The combination of the soup's hearty warmth and the bread's satisfying crunch is a match made in culinary heaven. It's all about contrasts in texture and flavor. Choose a bread with a good crust that can hold its own against the soup. A sourdough, a ciabatta, or even a simple baguette will do the trick. Slice it thick, warm it up slightly, and get ready to dunk. And don't be shy about using that bread to mop up every last drop of soup. It's the best part. Section 3. Beyond the bowl. Serving suggestions. While crusty bread is a classic pairing for lentil soup, don't be afraid to think outside the bowl. This versatile soup can be the star of a more elaborate meal. Serve it alongside a simple green salad for a light and satisfying lunch or dinner. The soup's heartiness is beautifully balanced by the salad's freshness. For a heartier meal, try serving your lentil soup with a side of rice. Brown rice or quinoa will add a nutty flavor and a boost of fiber. The soup's rich broth will infuse the grains with flavor. And if you're feeling adventurous, you could even use the lentil soup as a base for a more elaborate dish. Add some cooked chicken or sausage for extra protein, or stir in some leafy greens like spinach or kale for added nutrients. Section 4. A nourishing hug, comfort, and goodness in every spoonful. There you have it, folks. A bowl of lentil soup that's not just delicious, but also packed with goodness. We've got protein from those mighty lentils, fiber from the veggies, and a whole lot of flavor from our herbs and spices. This is the kind of soup that warms you up from the inside out. It's a hug in a bowl, perfect for a cozy night in or a simple weeknight dinner. And the best part? It's so easy to make. With just a few simple ingredients and a bit of love, you can whip up a pot of this soul-soothing soup that'll nourish your body and your soul. So go on, give this recipe a try. I guarantee it'll become a firm favorite in your household. Section 1. A bowlful of goodness, recap, and praise. There you have it, folks. We've reached the bottom of the bowl, but the warmth of this lentil soup lingers. Simple, wholesome ingredients create something truly special. Humble lentils transform into a creamy, flavorful soup. Sauté, simmer, and season your way to a culinary triumph. This recipe is accessible to everyone. Transform everyday ingredients into something extraordinary. No fancy equipment needed for a flavorful, nourishing dish. Use fresh, quality ingredients and let their flavors shine. The beauty of this recipe lies in its simplicity. It's a blank canvas for your culinary creativity. Experiment with spices, herbs, or add-ins. Make it your own. Section 2. Get cooking, encouragement and beyond. So what are you waiting for? It's time to ditch the takeout menus and get cooking. Gather your ingredients, put on your apron, and let's get those pots simmering. Trust me, your taste buds and your wallet will thank you. This lentil soup is more than just a meal. It's an invitation to slow down, savor the moment, and nourish yourself from the inside out. It's a reminder that sometimes the simplest things in life are the most satisfying. And hey, once you've mastered this recipe, why stop there? The world of soup is your oyster. Explore different flavors, textures, and cuisines. From creamy tomato soup to spicy Thai curries, the possibilities are endless. Remember, cooking is all about having fun, experimenting, and creating something delicious. So, go on, get creative in the kitchen, and don't forget to share your culinary masterpieces with the world. Happy cooking, everyone! If you enjoyed this recipe, make sure to subscribe, like, and share this video. Happy cooking!